Hey, everybody, this is me. I'm Bishop John Solders, your host. And well, for tonight, I'm going to be Dean Solders. I'm going to be Dean Solders tonight. Listen, I get to do this that I do on this platform, having a great deal of fun, talking to people that I know, sometimes very, very famous people, sometimes not so famous in one sense, but people doing some extraordinary work. Tonight, this is our holiday special, and I got an exclusive. I am going to be talking to some young men who are very dear to me. I don't know if you've heard, about a month ago. So there were some young men minding their own business. I'm going to let them tell their story. But I get a call late Saturday evening during Thanksgiving weekend that there's been an incident, and come to find out something crazy happened, boy, and to somebody who was dear to me, and we got on the scene and got busy doing what it is that we do. Got busy. Let me say one more word. I have not experienced very often the sheer courage and bravery and resilience of any group of young people in the way that I have over the last month, getting to know a bit better these three young men. One of them I knew pretty well in the first place. But the other two, over this time, I've gotten to know a little bit better, and I am godly proud to call them, part of my crew, and people who I care a great deal about. I have the pleasure to bring to my platform, my stage. Well, can I say the stage that God has allowed? I should say that as a person of faith. I should say that. The three young men who were involved in the shooting in Burlington, Vermont, a little over a month ago. Let me bring to my platform Brother Tahseen, Brother Kinnan, and Brother Hisham, the three young men, the three Palestinians. So the first word that went out is three Palestinian students. So that's what we're gonna call you, the three Palestinian students. Greet the audience here tonight, brothers. Why don't we begin with you?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me, Bishop John Solders. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. I'm known as Dean. You can call me Dean. So let me put a little meat on these bones. I get a call. Here's my part of the story. I get a call that says that Tahseen has been involved in a shooting. That guy was what? And so I call, I call campus safety, our place. That's the only place that's open on campus, and yeah, there's something that has happened. I said, okay, I'm on my way. And so I get to campus safety, and by this point, they had gotten a call from Hisham, your grandmother, who had the presence of mind to call the school to say a student of ours had been involved in an incident. And within about 45 minutes, I was on the road from Hartford to Burlington, and arrived a few hours after you all were in the hospital, and were on the biggest dose of happy medicine you could find. I don't think any of you all knew. Y'all can remember that we showed up, right? I said that. No, I don't remember. No, I don't remember anything. And so it was pretty amazing. So my first hero, Hisham, is your grandmother, who jumped into action and started wheeling and dealing and making sure that everybody who needed to be called and checked in with, she was on the horn. So why don't we begin with the night, for as much of it that you want to share, and help us understand. And then I got some funnies. That I do remember. If y'all don't remember, I remember about that the first night or two at the hospital.
Yeah, so I can start off, I guess. We were just going out for a cigarette. Because I'm the smoker. I'm the only person in that group who smokes. We were going out for a walk, and we were making around the street, and we were coming back on the opposite side of the street, and I think we were about to cross the road when, for me, I looked in front of me and I saw a man pointing a gun, and that's all I saw from him. And I was on the ground, and I saw Hisham on the ground, and I saw Kinnan running away. And about 5 minutes later, I saw a policeman just kind of looking at me. I was like, "Can you help me? I just got shot." And he just kind of looked at me. I don't know why. There's a white man, if that's relevant. Then the ambulance showed up, and they did their job, and ended up in the ICU. IUVM was very nice. They let us all stay in the same room in the ICU, and even after leaving the ICU, they put me and Hisham next to each other. So they were very accommodating to the three of us. But yeah, that's what happened. Oh, and I guess another important detail, while I was in happy medicine, the police made me sign some papers, but we can talk about that later, I think. Maybe Hisham and Kinnan have some details to add.
You're very to the point, Tahseen, We were talking about the meat on the bone. Like, Tahseen just gave us, like, scraps. It's like, the summarized version.
Well, I didn't want to talk for, like, the next 20 minutes.
There's so much to say.
There is, yeah.
I could go next. Basically, we were going to this bowling party before, and on the way back, Hisham's uncle was driving us to his grandmother's house. Before going to grandmother's house, Tahseen wanted a cigarette. That's the reason we didn't go in. We walked around the block, and like Tahseen said, on the way back, on the same sidewalk, I saw him, whereas Tahseen only saw him when he already basically drew his gun and got shot. I saw him going down the stairs of the porch of his house, pull out the gun and shoot Tahseen, and that's when I decided to run. I hid behind a house for a bit, and then I ran to another house to call 911. Turns out Hisham already called them, and that's when I basically told the cops not to wait for the ambulance to escort me instead, because I was losing consciousness from the blood loss. I lied down in the car to get more blood to my head, and then I was in the hospital again with happy medicine. That's when the police asked me to like sign some papers for the investigation, and I knew that I shouldn't lose consciousness while running. Very important not to just keep a very clear memory of what happened, so I could describe it to the detective. So I ended up like drawing a small diagram for them of where I ran, where the house is, where the phone dropped, and everything like that.
Have you seen that diagram, by the way? It's very funny.
I have
It's like a Tom and Jerry.
Wait, but it was so funny. At one point, I'm in a conversation with the parents. So, I was de facto Tahseen's, family. I am his family, but I was de facto his family until his mom and sister arrived, and so I've been in conversation with the parents about this diagram. And what your mother said something so sweet. She said, "Oh, I remember him drawing these pictures when he was like 3 or 4 years old. And misty-eyed and everything. It was so endearing." And I was like, "Boy, this is some chicken scratch. I don't know what this is, but anyway, you had arrows and
the detective read it backwards. The detective read it backwards first, and while I was trying to like, no, this is the way you're supposed to read it. While I was like on the happy medicine. And then I was like, in my mind, I was like, "You're not gonna catch this guy." Or not. And then yeah, it's good they found it.
Well, he shot us in front of his house.
Yeah,
so it wasn't very hard to find him. He was on his.
And there was a canister, I think, in front of his house. Like,
and what's even crazier, it's like after he shot us and like went away, like someone from that same house like came out like, what's going on? So like he like brought us blankets and stuff.
Yeah, he covered us with blankets.
Yeah. And I was like telling like I was like bossing that guy around, like go to Tahseen, like apply pressure on his wound, because like I'd called like the EMT and like I called 911 and they told me like make sure you're putting pressure on the wounds. And so like damn, I can't do that for Tahseen. Like just go do that for that guy over there.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to tell the police officer who was just staring at me and just doing nothing. Like I was like, "I got shot in the front of my chest. Can you put pressure?" And he was just looking, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
So in good Palestinian, context, God be praised. The three of you are here, and we're laughing about something that's very, very serious, right? So, alhamdulillah, right? So there's something that happened that we have to give praise to the Almighty for. Now, having said that, there's a couple of some crazy things. So we were calling. Tahseen has some friends. He has some friends on campus, and they started calling. And the people at the hospital were saying everything. They were telling it all. Yeah,
they're Vermont people. They're just so trusting.
Right. Well, and they never had anything like this happen before. I mean, this is Burlington, Vermont. I mean, yeah. Okay, population
40,000.
That's a reach.
That's
But I'm sure 25,000 is the school and students. Yeah. So I mean, it's a bustling community, obviously a college town, but pretty small and nothing like this. And they were obvious when we arrived. We would, again, other than Hisham's grandmother and uncle and aunt, we were the only other people. Me and a couple of Tahseen's friends, and by that time, your stepsister and brother had arrived, Kinnan, so they were there, but that was it. I mean, it was a small group of us who had gathered, begun to gather, and it was very interesting. So they had to get us. We went in through the emergency because when the last time we had talked to you, Tahseen, you were in the emergency room. You all had not been moved up to the
ICU.
surgical ICU, and by the way. Kinnan mentioned that they were all three. This was the great thing about being in the hospital they were in. I'd never seen this before, but apparently they were able to put all of you in the same room. So the room was big enough. You all had your own attendants, had your own everything, oxygen and all the, you know, it was a hospital room, right? You know, but it was, you know, the ICUs and you know, curtains and all that kind of stuff. And then I'm gonna tell some tales, Tahseen. Every time Tahseen, you know, wanted to have a private moment, he would look at me and say, "Could you step out for a second?" You know, whether it was having a private moment on the phone with somebody he didn't want me to overhear. I said, "You're talking in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic, so why I got to leave?" I know a couple of words, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, I won't tell the rest of the 4 other words. Other than that, I don't know what you're talking about anyway, but I could tell that if you're talking some shenanigans, because I know what your face look like. And then you know, one of the things that I thought was precious for me is that the 3 of you were having conversation in the room, you know, and all of a sudden you'd be speaking in English. Yo, I'm good, blah, blah, blah. And then y'all start talking in Arabic and nobody would know what y'all talking about.
Hisham.
You know, and then I'd look at you, Tahseen, because I know some of your facial, I know how you look when you talking shenanigans. And y'all be talking junk. And then I could see Kinnan cross the way and he got a little something in his eyeball. It's something in that this right eye. And I could tell, oh, that's a shenanigan. They talking junk. They talking 20-year-old young men talk. And so I appreciated that, you know, in the midst of what was a very serious, those first hours was really tough. You know, I came in, you know, trying to be cool, everything. But I was scared to death. And I know y'all was you had to be nervous about what was going on. And yet there was some comic moments, and then he would, you know, Tahseen would whisper in my ear, we were talking about such and what. And it was a funny, you know, the joke or something that happened, you know, whatever. Now, let's go back just for a moment. You all have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you know each other? How did that happen?
Hisham, you haven't had a chance to talk.
I'd say for me and Kinnan is something I'd call like a San Francisco connection. I think our parents, I think, knew each other from like practically when we were kids, like 1 or 2 years old, because Kinnan's mother was from San Francisco, and my mother was living in the Bay Area when I was born. And then Tahseen, you know, I've only known him since like 2nd grade. It's like so recent.
Only 2nd
grade.
So recent. It's, you know, our I don't want to call it like play dates, but like our mother, we were friends. We were, you know, we all went to the same school.
Yeah.
Ramallah Friends.
Tiny school.
It's a small school in Palestine. I'd say each class has like 110 graduating students, which is tiny for the US, but like smaller than average in Palestine, I'd say. Because Palestinian schools are quite small. But we were all in the same, like, you know, same year. And so we knew each other, and I would just hang out at Tahseen's house and we'd watch like Vsauce videos and, you know, like talk about Minecraft, and like we'd all play Minecraft together and
play chess as well.
Team Fortress 2 and chess. And so, you know, we go way back.
Yeah.
Y'all were telling me about the time you jumped off the fence, the wall with the dirt pile behind something or another.
Oh, we're jumping off everything in that school. There's not much to do in Ramallah, Palestine, so other than jump off high places.
Or walk around.
The community there is really good, though. The community is very nice. It's what gives it life.
And Tahseen lives in a nice area that we'd...
Nice.
He lives in the nicest area. Tahseen lives in such a nice neighborhood, man.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
all right.
beautiful.
I already know that his sister calls it the ghetto.
It's
She said we were in New York the other day. She said, "Huh?" I said, "You know, we were in Harlem, and I said, wow, huh? This looks better than where we live." I said, "Well, some might call this, you know, the ghetto." He said, "Yeah, no, where we live is the ghetto."
This is the ghetto deluxe, ghetto exclusive.
It's the industrial area. It's where all the factories are.
We used to joke that it's in like a constant industrial revolution phase. Like it never gets out of it. It's always smoke, smog. There's like it always smells like gasoline.
Yes, it is industrial era England.
It never gets out of the industrial era. It just expands. Like it just gets bigger.
It has the Coca-Cola factory, and there's like a massive statue.
That's the biggest hallmark of the area I live in is the giant Coca-Cola bottle.
There's a giant like dirty plastic Coca-Cola bottle on one of the factories, and we used to call it like one of the seven wonders of Batunia, like one of the attractions.
Lord. So for those of you who've never been to Palestine, Israel, and that's what I refer to it as. I call it Palestine, Israel. And I do that purposely to name that region has been far longer known as Palestine than the nation state Israel, which was a recent invention, the nation state Israel in 1948. And so it's interesting when we talk about, so as an American, I grew up here in the United States. And so when you talk about the West Bank, I happen to know, I'm pretty good with geography. I happen to know from Jerusalem, where Ramallah is the east. So I always question the West Bank, west of what?
So,
do share, Hisham. West of what?
The River Jordan.
Yeah. That's correct. And for those of you who don't understand and don't know, there have been several different. Can I call it? You all may have different expressions. Guardians of that region. Part Jordan, part Egypt. I mean, there's been lots of political wrangling over that little spot. I name it as it's about the slice of New Jersey here in the United States. You know, Palestine, Israel has about the dimensions of New Jersey, the state of New Jersey, and yet this land has been argued over. People have lived in relative peace, but then there's been times of war and aggression and all of that comes with a place that is, as can I say this and y'all won't be mad, it's a kind of spiritual, magical space. And I know that because having been there a number of times, you can feel it. It is visceral and it's very deeply spiritual. And you don't doubt once you've arrived in a place like Jerusalem, for example, and get around that Temple Mount and don't sense, man, I see why there are three major faiths that call this place a holy place, right? So I have to say that because it is one. You travel to Ramallah or even to Bethlehem. That's the West Bank. That's east of Jerusalem. Ain't nothing west about it, but it's west of the Jordan River, which is the border of the eastern part of what we now call the state of, I'm gonna call it like I call it, Palestine, Israel. All right. So Ramallah, that's the home.
That's
right?
home.
That's home. The three of you went to school, were raised, in the West Bank in Ramallah. went to a school I visited, and I wish I would have known you guys then, because I probably would say, y'all would have been a little tight. So I'd say, hey, what's up? Because when you travel, you're a black man from America. That's the first thing I get. Little kids want to talk English, and they want to reference some hip hop. They want to talk, hip hop black people talk. And I just find it hilarious. I think it is hilarious. What's up? I'm in the middle of, Korea in some little village, and they tell me, what's up? What's up? I thought it was hilarious. It's kind of like me trying to speak Arabic. I sound ridiculous saying it, but I find that there's an interesting interplay of Ramallah and what you all experienced growing up. Could y'all talk a little bit about what that life feels like, for folk who wouldn't know, and who might assume they know and they don't?
So Ramallah, it's kind of the de facto capital of Palestine. It's where all the government is. It's where all the companies put their headquarters in, and it's kind of like how no state in the U.S. has its capital as the actual place where everything happens. Ramallah, we say that capital of Palestine is Jerusalem, but Ramallah is the capital we are able to have. And living in Ramallah, it's not that big of a city. Hisham, you would know this. How many would we say?
I'd say 200,000.
200,000. Just in the city without just the city?
No, like metropolitan area.
Yeah, just the city. How many would you say in just the city?
God, 40,000.
Yeah, it's not that big, and everyone almost knows each other. If you don't know someone, you ask for their last name, and you're like, yeah, I know someone from that family, So it's very nice. The whole city feels like a downtown area. And it's very nice to walk around and drive around, and it's a very pretty city in my opinion. As dirty as it can be, I see it as it's we have an expression in Arabic, a monkey in the eyes of his mom is a gazelle, and for me, Ramallah is a very beautiful gazelle, and even though you would never hear me talk about Ramallah or Palestine this way. A few months ago, seeing Palestine be put such under, it's like, how you talk shit about your siblings a lot, but then someone else tries to bully your siblings, and you're like, hold on. I love my baby sibling, and it's really like that. It's everyone wants to bully Palestine, and the more bullied it is, it feels like I need to protect it, and especially after being shot for wearing the kufiya and for speaking Arabic. I think I've had a much bigger appreciation to Palestine now that. Well, I'll talk about this more later. I might not be able to go back for many years to Palestine. So, but I'll let Kinnan and Hisham also talk about how they feel about Ramallah and about Palestine.
I want to expand on just like one point that Tahseen was making, is like why, like Palestinians, if you ask any Palestinian like what they consider the capital to be, they'd say Jerusalem. But the reason why like de facto it's not is because for most Palestinians, going to Jerusalem is like just you can't. It's like
it's impossible.
It's like it's 10 miles away from Ramallah. 10 miles.
Yeah.
Like that's like a hop, skip, and a jump away, but you can't because there are just so many checkpoints, and they just like you need to have all the right paperwork. You need to, and like, there's like all this stuff that's going inside the city, but as soon as you go outside of the city, it's like a whole different story. Like it's just, you're just surrounded by like checkpoints and like militarized stuff. So if you want to like go to the north of the city, there's a settlement, and there's something called the DCO, which is the Center for like District Coordination Office. I think that's what it stands for, and that's like where the Israeli military coordinates for that area of the West Bank. And then to the east of the city, there's another settlement, to the west of the city where Tahseen is from, there's a prison, and also to the northwest there are like more settlements, and to the south, obviously, there's checkpoints that like lead to Jerusalem. Like, so there's lots of beauty, but there's also like there's so much militarization around you. It's like you just accept it, like it just becomes normal to you. It becomes the default way of living, and that's how you navigate life.
Yeah, you never know what you have till you lose it. I mean, after the events of October 7th, and you see the continuous expansion of the Israeli state into the West Bank, it's like, oh my God, this is all we have. So you start being a lot more appreciative of what you did have. But also you realize the beauty of living in an area like that. Like Tahseen said, it might be dirty, but we have such a strong community. And I think that's partially because every year, as Palestinians, we hear 10 to 12 atrocities happening around the West Bank and Gaza that the whole West Coast does not, or the Western area doesn't hear about. And the only people we have, it feels like, is each other. So that kind of forces us to grow closer together. Whether it was this neighborhood that was excavated, Sheikh Jarrah in 2022, for example, this family person was martyred, and we know about them. It really brings us closer together, and that's the beauty of it. It's not just the land; it's the people that make the land as well. So
I know that to be true. That you all are referencing what happens when people pull together in community. I know that as an African American, and I have also witnessed it on the ground there in Palestine, Israel. Telling Tahseen, one of my trips, we stayed in a Bedouin tent for 3 days. Woo! And what we don't know here in the United States, what you all know, in part of it's an arid area, right? It's the desert, so the sun comes up, it's nice, weather, but when the sun goes down, it's cold. And so we stayed in a place where we had we would the heat in the tent. It was a huge tent, so it was able to sleep. It was about 40 of us, so it wasn't just a small tent. It was a big tent. But we were out in the middle of the Negev down south, right? And it was quite the experience, having to go, brush your teeth, take a shower, in kind of almost outdoors. You had a little insulated area, but it was kind of outdoors. It's a fascinating experience. And I was leading this particular tour, and I had some students from Trinity, and they were very concerned about me and my beloved, my wife and family. They were very concerned about us. So eventually, they begged us to go. There was a place where we could stay in a house, in a with a bed and bathroom and stuff. It was cold in that place because there wasn't no heat. So I think I liked the communal aspect of being out with everybody else, but I was also kind of like, freezing and stuff. But the experience of being in community is what I remember. That warmed me. Tahseen.
Oh, just to be clear, this is, I guess, what people kind of imagine to be the Arab experience. What you've described as the Bedouin experience. The average the Bedouins are the nomad minority in Palestine. The average Palestinian lives in a nice house, and not a nice house, just a house, normal house, and we have streets, we have cars, we don't ride camels.
Just to dismantle Orientalist stereotypes.
Yes,
like
but
camel or you're in the desert.
The Bedouin life does exist and is very real, but it was not our experience. I never had to sleep in a tent or anything.
Yeah, bless your heart, you never had to sleep in a tent. I appreciate that. My point was that the community.
I know.
Is community, and to understand that real sense of the communal nature of it. You only know that when you live and have lived in an experienced community as well. You only know what that means when people pull together because they have to. And I can appreciate all three of you in naming that as a real reality. That living in Palestine, when folk don't know that day for day, your experience is fraught with all kinds of what I would call state sanctioned violence of one degree or another. All right, and that's really fascinating to me. And for me, it is once you see it, you can't unsee it. Right? Once you know what that is and your experience of it is, you can't say, "Oh, hands off." That's that was only one. No, I saw it over and over and over again. I saw it in the Negev. I saw it in Ramallah. I saw it in Nablus. I saw it in the Julan. I saw it, in Tel Aviv, and certainly in East Jerusalem as well. That sense of I tell everybody this, that I'm walking in East Jerusalem, a street, just any street in East Jerusalem, and I see what looks like to me a liquor store. Now I know it's not a liquor store because all Palestinians are good Muslims and they don't drink liquor. I know that. I know that already. I know they only smoke cigarettes, but they don't drink liquor. But it looks like a liquor store to me. And you got the brothers around there and they talking junk. I can tell they talking junk because there's a look when you talking junk. And I'm walking up and I do the Negro nod, and everybody in the group gives me the Negro nod back. All right, I'm at home. Once they, once you recognize, and I felt very
I
much.
nod down. I don't nod down.
No, you're not up, dude.
No, I like this.
Not up is the acknowledgement nod.
Oh my God, dude. Tahseen is always the wayward one. You all know this already, Hisham and Kinnan. Y'all know Tahseen is the wayward one. I get it.
We do.
Yes, yeah. But I find that a fascinating thing that you all that in Palestine and in Ramallah in particular, that communal aspect that people don't know. That's an unknown unless you have experienced it.
I'd like to add regarding the diversity of Ramallah. There are Christians in Ramallah.
Yes, they are.
Who are able to drink. They're able to drink as well. It's a more diverse.
Yes, actually, we should kind of tell the story of Ramallah. Ramallah was a city founded by 6 or 7 Christian families. I'm not sure which year, but the center of the city, there's a roundabout with Hisham. Is it 6 or 7?
4.
4? Yes, 4.
Close enough, average.
7, 6.
Around there, whatever. Plus minus 10.
4 Christian families, and there's a lion for each family on the roundabout. So and actually, I don't know is this true, Hisham? Like mayor can only be Christian.
Yeah.
Yes. So it is a very
and same thing in Bethlehem.
Yeah. So in Ramallah, it is a Christian city, even though the Christians are a minority now. You can still see the Christian culture there.
That's the other thing about the region, and I'll say the whole region. Ramallah is 10 miles from Jerusalem. You can't really tell, other than the checkpoints, it's kind of one run-on city. It feels like that to me. And Bethlehem is 6 miles south and east of Jerusalem, and yet it feels again. These are all, you're here in the United States. We hear Bethlehem. We hear the Mount of Olives. We hear these places, and then they are really walkable distances, and they're right there. They're within. Now Nablus, and then you go up to Nazareth. That's a little bit of a schlep. I mean, you're not walking there easily, and they didn't have cars, so Jesus and them was walking or donkey riding or some of that kind of stuff. But these are places that are really walkable. The only thing you don't recognize, and you all do, is that the region is hilly.
Yes. Ramallah is about 900 meters elevation. I don't know how much that is in feet.
It's like 300 feet. No, sorry. That's about about 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
It is a hilly region. It's I think for me, I really love like when I think of Palestine in my mind, it's like rolling green or brown hills in the summer, dotted with olive trees and sometimes almond trees, and to me it's just I don't know. It's like you have a landscape that you call home, and that's for me home. And I really like. I think probably as a result, I like mountainous areas or hilly areas more than flat areas.
And
It's
the
really nice
geography
to
of
drive.
Palestine,
Yeah.
sorry, the geography of Palestine is fairly unique, right, Hisham? Compared to
Yeah.
other areas around it. It has like these short and slightly larger mountains all around. And me and Tahseen Hisham used to hang out in a spot where you get the most amazing sunsets at night
Yes.
because we're on top, kind of on the cliff of a mountain,
Yes.
and and the land kind of as a whole goes downwards from there,
Very
like
steep.
bumpy but downwards, very steep, and you could see the sun up until its last moments before it sets, and sometimes you see amazing colors: pink, purple, orange. Like it's one of the best things to do there. It's
And
very
we would
Yeah.
go there and
And-
do very halal activities.
And
Yes,
another thing
that-
about your thing being about the size is that like you don't think about how small it is. Like you said, it's like the size of New Jersey. It's like we're in Ramallah, the heart, quote unquote, of like the West Bank. I can see Tel Aviv from where I am, like just from my house. I mean, not from my house, but when I'm in a high place, I can see the sea. And
Yes.
if it was like, it's the whole place is like it's so small that you don't really like think about it in that size. But like if I wanted to, like driving, if there were no checkpoints, 30 minutes and I'd be on the beach, maybe 40.
Yeah,
But instead it's
I can see the Mediterranean Sea from the roof of my house because I have a flatter area in front of me than Hisham. But one of the only times I've been there in my adulthood, because when you're young, it's much easier to get past checkpoints. But in my adulthood, the only times I've been there is when me and Hisham and a few other friends snuck past. I don't know if I should be saying this. But we
Woo-wee! Thank you for that. Thank you for saying that when you were younger, there have been moments of indiscretions. I've heard about some of these indiscretions. Keep talking. Just
we managed to somehow get a very difficult way and to get past and get to see the ocean and to see the Mediterranean Sea. It was very difficult. It was a very long process. It was very scary. And it's really not. It's a terrible feeling to see something that is your land, is your people's land, that is the God's land, that is just so heavily controlled by a, I'm not going back any home.
militarization, but
A
yeah.
genocidal government that is just controlling and occupying the land and creating illegal settlements and illegal checkpoints and all this stuff. That it just
It's so
And-
sad. Yeah.
yeah.
And what's crazy is that it's a one-way thing. So, Tahseen, Kinnan and I, we see the sea. We can't go there. We're not allowed to. But let's say like you're an Israeli living in Tel Aviv. You can go anywhere in the West Bank that you want to.
even though
even though it's
Technically
under international
illegal.
law, yeah. Like you can go to the Dead Sea. You can go live in a settlement. You can go anywhere you want, but we can like only go to very specific small places, and those small places we go to, between them are checkpoints, and sometimes even like
checkpoints
even in your
where
own-
they hold guns to your
Yeah.
car with with their finger on the trigger.
yeah, it's
No, it's not uncommon to, like, for example, if a soldier sees that you posted something pro-Palestinian on social media, whether it's even advocating for human rights, they could pull you out of the car and beat you up. That happened to my cousin.
Yeah.
And it's just such a shame because it's also very interesting how certain people who are raised here with no ethnic ties to the land could have a quote-unquote birthright trip and have more rights than us who have ethnic ties to the land, who my grandmother has been kicked out of her land with her neighbors killed during the Nakba. this man who's essentially Caucasian has more rights than a Palestinian. And it has nothing to do really with religion. If Israel was a quote unquote Christian state or Muslim state, trust me, a lot of the natives and people around who have been subjugated and oppressed for many years would dislike it just as much. It's about human rights, fundamental ones. And I just want to be able to visit my grandmother's old house again. Tahseen wants to be able to visit the beach again. There's many Palestinians who were born and raised in Palestine and can't even visit the beach. And they want to be able to access that again, who have done nothing wrong. So that's part of the Palestinian plight.
Yeah, Gaza is right on the sea. It's on the
Yes.
Mediterranean Sea.
But they
And-
do not control. They have no control over the sea. But yes,
That's
they are
exactly-
bordering. They are
You know,
bordering.
So these are the conversations, in fact, and the things that folk who will hear this particular podcast and show, I want to hear. I want them to hear from your mouths the plight of Palestine. This is before October 2nd.
Way before.
This has been for decade after decade after decade. The rise of settlements in the West Bank, and what we mean by settlements, we're talking about Israeli people taking land that was designated that Palestinian land and say, okay, we want to build here.
Yes,
And
even
they'll
to
create-
diplomatic
And houses.
agreement.
They could just take. They'd also
You
take
just take a
houses
house.
as well.
Yeah, you take a house, you build a road, and let me be very clear. Much of the funding for all of the roads and all of the sewage, this water thing, and we're going to talk about that for a minute. We're going to talk about the water thing for a minute. All of that is subsidized by the United States government. It is U.S. dollars that creates much of the infrastructure that you all have experienced or have the lack of experiencing. Because, for example, I know that if you don't have the right colored ID card, you can't even ride on those and drive on those same roads. Not only traversing checkpoints, but then you might get pulled over just because you look Arab. I don't know what that looks like, but you look Arab. That whole he looks Arab. You all know, I don't know, but you can just get pulled over. It's kind of like driving while black here in the United States. It's kind of a deal. And all of a sudden, if you don't produce the right kind of documentation, what you just mentioned is correct. You might have to take it. You might have to get a beat down just because, or worse.
And it's not easy to get that documentation. Let me tell you, a lot of times you're just born in the area and you just can't go. It's not a security measure, as many have done said that in the past as an excuse. Rather, it's just a way to enforce apartheid and subjugate a people.
I also want to expand on something you mentioned about being black in the U.S. And how it relates to also being a Palestinian in Palestine. There is a lot of systematic, obviously, other than the laws that they break, even the laws that they have, they are created to oppress Palestinians. There is a separate court for Arabs and Israelis. Palestinians in Jerusalem, or Palestinians in general, whenever they are convicted of a crime. First of all, if you are taken in, if they press charges, a lot of people are taken into jail without charge. But when there is charges, you are taken to court, and your judge is an Israeli, and your lawyer is an Israeli, and everyone in there is an Israeli, and the ruling is obviously very made to the whole system is made to oppress against Palestinians. And I see Dean looking at the time, so I will.
I'll just quickly expand what Tahseen is saying. It's like the main idea that I've been thinking about lately a lot that applies, as Tahseen and as the Dean said, both to Palestinians in Palestine, and African Americans in the U.S. is the presumption of guilt. You are already presumed to have done something wrong when the government, in the U.S. case, like the U.S. government, the police force, in our case, the Israeli military, when they interact with you, they've already assumed that you're guilty of some crime. In our case, terrorism. In the United States case, like whatever stereotypes cops have in their mind about black people, and the courts that they bring us to are the military courts. And
They're rigged already.
Yeah, and I read something the other day that when a case goes to conviction, I think it's like probably like 97% you're found guilty. But the thing is, most or many people in these courts are never charged.
Never.
Because there's a system called it's administrative detention, and you can be arrested by the Israeli military with no charge under administrative detention for 3 months, and those 3 months can be renewed indefinitely.
Yes.
So we all have a common friend whose father is politically active. He's the head of a political party in the village, and he's involved in the village local government. He's not militant. I don't think he's ever touched a gun in his life. He's just a leftist fellow. But he was arrested by the Israeli army for 1.5 years. I think
Not
while
right.
his wife was I think his wife had just gotten pregnant. They arrested him or something, and he was just there for 1.5 years, and they never charged him. Never was a sentence, and they never knew when he would come out, and he'd never done anything. And that's just that's a presumption of you're already guilty.
And that's not even counting the times where they've held dead bodies. They've held just it's really about destroying the dignity and the dignity of the Palestinian people, is to make us feel like we are not humans, we are animals. And we are, I think, talking too much about the West Bank. I think while we still have time, I think we should start talking about what's going on in Gaza and the genocide in Gaza, because really what's going on in Gaza right now is probably one of the worst things Israel has ever done since the Nakba. And nothing we've lived through in the West Bank compares to the daily life of the kids, the women, the men in Gaza right now. And I think Kinnan is very well educated on this and can speak a lot. So I will hand over the mic to him.
I mean, just to expand on the laws, one thing that's particularly harrowing is they have no repercussions, an IDF soldier, for shooting anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. A paramedic, a press. Recently, the press fatalities have been near the highest in history in any war in the shortest amount of time. That's no coincidence. That's purposeful assassination of press to cultivate a better image for the state. This is what's happening in Gaza, and it's not the first time. Obviously, this is one of the biggest genocides in history, but when the people of Gaza have peacefully protested before, they were killed on mass scale as well, with little to no repercussions. For example, the Gaza Peace March. It's important to acknowledge the historical context of what led to the different political movements in this area, why they have led there, and why they have succeeded there. Another thing we could look at is the political diversity in Gaza. A lot of people have in mind that they're one uniform terrorist group that portrays to this Western Orientalist stereotype. The truth is that Gaza is politically diverse. There are other socialist parties, there are other democratic parties, and they have been overthrown one way or another indirectly by the Israeli state, which I won't elaborate on too much here. Another thing I'd like to say before I stop talking is it's important to distinct what we're speaking against Israeli citizens or the Israeli government. Our language is purely towards the corrupt Israeli government, which actually a significant amount of Israeli citizens are now opposing. Not necessarily for our rights, I'm not sure, but they have been extremely non-accommodating of the Israeli hostages in Gaza, carpet bombing all of them, not negotiating with the citizens, and as you saw, not too much a while back, one of 3 of the Israeli hostages were killed, even though they were waving a white flag and saying that
because
we
they
need
look
help
like us, by the way.
because they look Palestinian, and that is the level. That's the level of subjugation we experience. Because even when we're saying, "Hey, peace, peace, peace," we're getting killed, and that just shows. And it's ironic that it's happening to Israeli hostages now by the government that supposedly protects them. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, in what way would you think it's justified if I saw 3 people walking towards me with their shirts off, raising a white flag, and they just shot them? Like, they didn't.
so trigger happy.
They're speaking in Hebrew. They're like, "Help! SOS! Help! We're on your side, please!" And they shot them. But I think that's one facet of, like, just, we can. I feel we can talk about it, but it's really hard to comprehend, like, how much emotional damage there is, and how much, like, just trauma there is. Like, I'm not there. I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to be there. And I'm I got shot here. I'm, like, currently, like, I can't walk, but, like, I'm still blessed that I'm in a place that, like, I'm safe. Like, I got shot, but I'm still safe because there are no bombs flying overhead. And, like, what do kids have to do with this?
Yes.
What does, like, these bombs are, like, being dropped indiscriminately.
Yeah.
And I think that it will lead to an entire generation of trauma that needs to be addressed, but this is not yet stopped.
It's not even
for us to be
over.
able to address it.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
not even over for us to talk about.
And I think that one thing I talked about, I wrote it in an article I wrote for a paper at Brown, was that we had a activity in Brown where we were writing down the names of everyone who died, and they gave me a document with all the names on it. And I was curious. I was like, how many people had my name? And it was 13 people. This was, like, still at the beginning, still, like, only 6,000 casualties. Now it's 20,000. So 13 people, like, with my name, and those, like, each person had their own life story, and there are just so many life stories that are being ended. It's, like, so much that we can't even, like, comprehend. We can't even begin to comprehend each person's pain, each person's, like, story in life. Like, you have to, everyone, like, how many people are fleeing, leaving their houses? It's just, I think at this stage we need to, like, step back, no matter what your political affiliation is, and just, like, think about it on a human aspect. Like, we shouldn't be doing this.
You all are, let me just say, Trinity College, Haverford College, Brown University. You 3 are bright young men and are articulating so profoundly to me both the journey of your lives, but also the struggle, not of the 3 of you, but of a whole people in not just today, but yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. This current incursion and aggression. It may have been Tahseen, you said this to me, and it was a profound moment for me in the hospital. You may have been affected a little bit by the happy medicine. You may have been a little bit of happy medicine on you. You said we got shot not because of any other thing, but that we were wearing the kufiyah. We got.
Probably say what the kufiyah means.
Yes, right. And let's say, what is this? What is a kufiyah?
A kufiyah is a symbol of Palestinian resistance. We resist against our occupiers. We have always been fighting against occupying forces, and the kufiyah has always been a symbol, or not always, but has in the past century been a symbol that to represent the resistance and resilience of the Palestinian people. And that's why we wear it in times like this.
It's the resilience of the Palestinian people, whether it's through intellectual means, through discussing, through love for each other, through our support for each other.
And through fighting, because I feel like we always, I'm sorry, Kinnan, but I feel like we always have to justify ourselves. But Palestinians have a right to fight back. Like, Palestinians do have a right. No, like when we say no justice, no peace, that is what it means. It means Palestinians have a right to fight back, and it's not that we always have to talk around like, oh, by the way, our existence is not anti-Semitic, our existence is not violent. Those should be given. We should not have to justify our humanity. We should not have to justify our resistance and our resilience because it is so obvious who is the oppressed and who is the oppressor in this case.
Amen to that. I can say, like I said, once you see, you can't unsee. I knew who the black people were in Palestine, simply with the Negro nod. I knew who it was. I knew who were my kinfolk and who were them other people, right? Who was the othered, and everywhere we go in the world, it's of interest to me to find who are your kinfolk, right? Who are the people you connect to, and that's certainly for me. There's an obvious connection between me as an African living in America, born here in America, but I'm obviously there's some African going on up and through here, and some other folk too, but some African by and large, and that this moment, the three of you in this moment have become somewhat famous. Can I just say that? Rock star status.
Guardian.
Rock star status. I mean, I was hearing about. Listen, I was in the hospital with you, and people were calling your names from all over the world. That just amazed me.
Found them wrong in the start, but they were calling our names.
Yeah, it was just amazing in one sense, but also pretty interesting in another sense. And of course, I happened to be with you all when y'all was laughing at how they would the wrong pictures with the wrong person. Of course, I don't know if they ever have spelt some of the names right. Yeah, right. But that happens. And then one media source then copies and you ought to do. How many dozens of times I got asked how to spell Tahseen's name, and I just after a while I was like, okay, I don't know how to spell it now. I've been spelling it for 2 years. I don't. Just don't trust me, and I got both of you all's names, and I mean, anyway, how all of that comes together in this moment. We are a little bit past time, but that's okay. It's my show. I get to call it. Say one, if each of you would take a moment, if you were able to say something to the world right now, in relationship to what has happened to you, but more than that, because something has happened and you have now this opportunity to speak, what would you say? Kinnan, you've been on the speaking circuit a little bit. You've been out there a little bit. What would you say to folk who may be just coming to terms with what is happening? They've been on Mars or somewhere, so they don't know what happened a month ago. But now they're just now coming to terms with something happened. What would you say to them?
Just put yourself in Palestinian shoes. October 6th, before October 7th, was one of the worst years for Palestinian children. They were being killed quite en masse, but no one hears about that. So put yourself in Palestinian shoes, I'd say.
Hisham.
I think that people were affected by this because it was something that was in the US, in Vermont, where college students, we go to US colleges, but at the same time, that shouldn't be the reason why you care about someone's humanity more than anyone else. And it shouldn't be about where you live, where you're from, what your color is, what your religion is. I think we're all human and we all need to recognize that. And you need to be able to feel it. And unfortunately, I feel like lots of people just don't feel it.
Thank you, Hisham. Tahseen?
I would just say free Palestine with this emoji.
All right, that's what we're doing right there. That's what we're doing right there. Can I say The three of you are heroes to me, and
You're a hero to us.
well, I don't know about that, but I do love you and appreciate what this moment has done. Oh God, here we go. I can't do it. You all know, Tahseen already know. I can't do that. I look ridiculous.
You only have to do it. Wait, which side are you on? No.
Yeah, I can't do it. You're gonna have to teach me, and you have to go very slow. I'm
Okay.
old, so you got to go slow. You in this moment have this grand opportunity of of being able to harness these moments to say what you need to say to the world. There's a responsibility that comes with that. The three of you, are stepping up in your own individual ways, and now here collectively, you've gifted me the opportunity to be the first to talk to the three of you together, and I appreciate that very much. Each of you are on your own journey of healing. And Hisham, Kinnan, and Tahseen, I pray very much for you. God bless you that you are able to, after what you've experienced, you're able to be on this show, and we can kiki and chop it up as we have and as we will continue. Hisham, you got a little bit of a role, but I already know the stock you come from. You come from strong folk, and so you ain't gonna be blocked. Not with the people you come from. And Kanaan, I've met your mama. Oh Lord, she's a whirlwind in and of herself. And of course, Tahseen, I know where you come from. I know your folks. And I bid you all three all of Godspeed. May God keep you and continue to be your guide and your guard as you navigate and negotiate what you got to do. And let me not forget, y'all got to graduate from college. That's not a negotiable. Kanaan, you can't be the rock star and not get that degree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's true, right? That's true, right? You got to get the degree. And Tahseen, you know I'm not even playing with you about the get it done, sir. Then you can become the star that you want to be. All right, Hisham, gotta put the work in, sir. Got to put the work in. You know, I'm gonna be a dean. I'm gonna be a dean at the end of the day. I'm gonna be advocating for your
next semester. I'm going back next semester.
He's already getting back into. He's not even taking a semester off. Come on.
That's right. That's right. Each of you are doing what you need to do, and I'm thankful to have gotten to know your parents and getting to know your parents and your families, and thank you for letting me have this hour or so of time with you. I would cherish it, and Happy New Year to each of you. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Very happy. No, we're not celebrating New Year. No New Year.
No, it's New Year, even if we're not celebrating.
New Year's canceled.
New Year's is canceled? We didn't cancel New Year? Oh,
it's got to be 2023 for a Holy New Year. Repeating 2023.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
No, we don't want to repeat this year at all. I'm with you tonight.
Not at all.
This right here. No. I understand the sentiment, however, that there's something about trying to celebrate when in fact there's still some injustice happening in the places and spaces we love and care about. And I get that part. Hey, family out there, we've just had a first. We've just had breaking news. I need a breaking news scroll right there on the bottom. Breaking news. We have talked to the three Palestinian young men, heroes in my book, who are making it, and I wish you all the best healing and much success in the coming days. All right, family, we're gonna talk to you again, same channel, same day. Peace in the Middle East and hair grease.
Peace in Palestine.
Oh, Palestine. can you just let the black preacher rhyme it up? I just need just one rhyme. One rhyme.
You think the other places in the Middle East don't deserve peace too, Tahseen?
No, this is Palestine. We don't talk about Palestine.
You don't care about Sudan, Tahseen?
No, because Israel's also in the Middle East. I don't think they
Oh
deserve
Lord.
peace.
Okay. I don't open up a can of worms. You see what
Yeah.
this is, right?
Peace in the Middle East.
Listen, this is the conversation they would have been had in Arabic. People they've been cutting up and saying other stuff too. So y'all just got a glimpse of who these friends are, and I really appreciate the three of you. Thank you all. Thanks y'all for listening. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.
Peace.